Yo, what's going on, everybody? You are watching Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, I got some great news for you guys, and then I got some awful news for you guys. Now, the great news being first, J.J. McCarthy. He should be back Week 9 against the Detroit Lions. Kevin O'Connell said after the game yesterday that if he is healthy, he should play. Now, some quick thoughts on that. Then we'll talk about the game. Obviously, that being the awful news, and just also going back and looking at the Vikings offseason as why I truly believe it is one of the worst offseasons in Minnesota Vikings franchise history. But let's first start off with JJ. KOC saying he should be back if he is healthy for this Week 9 game against the Detroit Lions. I'm just going to say this first. If J.J. McCarthy is not, for some reason, the starting quarterback Week 9 in Detroit, we have serious problems because we're already starting to have problems with J.J. Obviously, he hasn't been healthy throughout his NFL career. Now, I'm not going to chalk that up to a soft benching. I'm going to believe in that injury because obviously they felt like they can't rush this guy back dealing with a high ankle sprain, because if he would have to re-injure it, which, the way the game went last night with the offensive line playing poor and Carson Wentz getting extremely beat up, there was probably a high chance JJ was going to re-aggravate that ankle injury or have another injury. So they were waiting for him to be 110% healthy. But if he is not 110% healthy for this Week 9 game against the Lions, that would be 7 weeks removed from Week 2 against the Atlanta Falcons. So if he is not out there, we have serious problems, because we can just call it like it is. The rest of this Vikings season, you're not going to make the playoffs. The schedule's too tough. The NFC is too loaded. You're not going to go win that playoff game, which was the ultimate goal heading into the season. It is about developing J.J. McCarthy, because it is the most important position in all of sports. This whole thing about the NFL at the end of the day is finding that franchise quarterback. So that is the number one goal for the rest of the season, is developing J.J. McCarthy. And that's why I have no idea why the Vikings played Carson Wentz yesterday. Carson Wentz was just flat out horrible. Even going back and rewatching the game, the old cliche where it's like, oh, the film is, if you win a game, the film's not always as good as it seems. But if you lose a game, the film's not always as bad as it seems. The film was that bad for Carson Wentz yesterday. He had horrible pocket presence. He was inaccurate. And he was also just getting beat up. And that last clip that Amazon showed after the game when Carson Wentz was throwing his helmet and you could literally see tears building in his eyes. I felt for Carson Wentz on a human level. But also, Carson probably showed some of the worst leadership I've ever seen from a quarterback in the game yesterday. Number one, at the end of the first half, this guy was laughing with Josh McCown multiple times when the Vikings are down 21-3. That drove me up the wall. And then even him throwing his helmet, sitting there just looking up, that's not being a good leader. That's not being a good face of the franchise. You are the starting quarterback that week. You cannot just let your emotions get the best of you and completely check out. Now, I understand the game was over, but that is the responsibility of a starting quarterback. So I think no matter what, you should be going back to J.J. McCarthy. And if he's not, we got serious problems. But that is good news for Vikings fans. Leading on to the rest of the season, is that at least, even though the season is a dud and truly feels like a season from hell, at least we have something to really watch, which is very important for the future of this franchise, figuring out if that kid who you spent the 10th overall pick on, if he's anything, because he is still a wild card. He's only played 8 quarters. I'm not here declaring he's going to be good. I'm not here declaring he's going to be bad. I still have faith in him developing to a really good quarterback in the NFL, but at least we get to watch him develop. So I think that's the good news here. Now, I do want to talk about Kevin O'Connell, Brian Flores, and potentially if Kevin O'Connell is on the hot seat. But before we do so, if you guys could hit that subscribe button today. We're closing in here on 65,000 subscribers. We're just 100 subs away. So if you guys are new here and want to stay up to date on everything around your Minnesota Vikings, I got you guys covered every single day with daily videos, short form content, live shows. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button today. Help us reach 65,000 subs. So the number one take I had from the game after sleeping on and waking up this morning is the Kevin O'Connell honeymoon is completely over. I think he came in that first year, 2022, where I remember that first game, it was against the Green Bay Packers. Justin Jefferson had more yards in the first half than the entire Packers team. And I think we were so excited to have this young, offensive-minded head coach because you're coming off an old, senile head coach in Mike Zimmer, and KOC was the complete opposite of it. Like, it's like if you're dating a girl, the next girl you're going to date is probably going to be pretty different than your original girl. Like, that's what the Vikings did at the head coaching position, but the honeymoon is over. Like, it was cool winning a lot of games in the regular season. It was cool, 2 out of the last 3 years, you're winning 13, 14 games. Now, obviously, you get to the playoffs, and you fell flat. But also with Kevin O'Connell, another year, no running game. Like, what's going to give? Like, you look at these other teams in the NFL, it doesn't matter if they have all backup offensive linemen. And, I mean, look at the San Francisco 49ers. They got all backups on their offensive line. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey's still a hell of a running back, but they're still able to run the football, at least this past week on Sunday night against the Falcons. Even Matt LaFleur, it doesn't matter who they have at their offensive line. He's able to get a run game going. And if you want to be deemed as an elite offensive head coach, that starts with the run game. Like, even Sean McVay, when he's had injuries to his offensive line, he's able to, get a consistent run game going. And I think people, KOC winning that Coach of the Year award, there is a trend in the NFL where coaches will win that award, and then it won't go good the next couple of seasons. Like, if you guys remember, Matt Nagy with the Chicago Bears, Coach of the Year, I think he was fired 2 years later. Brian Dable, he won Coach of the Year the year they beat us in the playoffs. And now he's been on the hot seat for the last 2 seasons. So just this honeymoon with Kevin O'Connell where I think, and, I'm at fault for this too, where we just lifted him up into being one of the best young offensive-minded head coaches in the NFL. Now, he very well still could be, but as it stands right now, the way this season is going, like, the Vikings, think about this. In 5 of their 7 first halves this season, they haven't scored a touchdown. Those are the scripted plays. Those are when you're supposed to get your team easy looks. And KOC has been able to do that. Like, it is just truly horrible how this season has gone. And, we can talk about the defense here. Like, Brian Flores, like, that honeymoon is over too. Like, this defense has struggled against good quarterbacks and good teams over the last couple of years. Like, Jared Goff has killed you. Matthew Stafford has killed you. And then this year, you have been sliced and diced by Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert the last 2 weeks. Like, I think Brian Flores' defense, like, it's just typical Vikings fashion where it's good against the middle-of-the-pack teams. It's great against the bad teams. But when you go up against some of the top teams and some of the top offenses in the NFL, we have seen this defense get gashed. And the cornerback and safety positions are flat-out horrible. Like, they ignored that during free agency. They put faith in a 6th-round pick in Theo Jackson. They put faith in Harrison Smith. At 35 years old, still being a high rotation guy, you let Cam Bynum walk. You extended Josh Metellus, but the cornerback position, like, the Vikings have been trying to hide Jeff Okudah this entire season, and they were putting him in the nickel last night where he wasn't good on the outside, and they thought it was a good idea to put him in the nickel. What are we doing? He was getting absolutely cooked, and you ignored the cornerback spot. You gave Byron Murphy that extension, but you really only gave Isaiah Rodgers that 2-year, $15 million deal. Besides that, you ignored it. You had a chance to draft Nicky Minwari in the first round. And also that gets back to, Kwesi and just this whole front office and why I truly believe this is one of the worst off seasons in Vikings history. Now, also KOC and Flores, they have an impact on the guys they sign in free agency. If you don't think that, then you're just flat out wrong. Like, clearly Flores has an impact on guys they have brought in defensively, and clearly Kevin O'Connell, he has some insight on who they're bringing in offensively. But I truly believe this. Kwesi cannot run another draft. He can't be the GM this offseason if this season truly does go the way it's going, because he has been a terrible drafting GM, and he's only had one good free agency cycle. Like the Grenard, the Cashman, the Van Ginkel pickups, okay, congrats. But you were also gifted Christian Darrisaw, gifted Justin Jefferson from Rick Spielman. It's not like Kwesi has gone out there and has built like the true blue chippers on this team. And if the Vikings do end up getting a top 10 pick this year where it's looking like it, how are you going to trust him to run that draft? Absolutely not. Like, he needs to be fired. And it is, again, it feels very reactionary to be saying this after the second worst loss under their era, but that's just how it is right now. And you're looking back at that Dallas Turner, J.J. McCarthy draft. Man, that's looking like one of the worst drafts in NFL history. You had 2 first-round picks. You traded back up to get Dallas Turner, and he has just been a no-show. I mean, he looks like a 4th-round pick out there. He has a lot of work to do if he ever wants to become the player we thought he was going to be. And then J.J. McCarthy, he just hasn't played. Like, I'm sure if the Vikings could redo that draft, they 100% would. And obviously, hindsight is 2020, but you drafted Dallas Turner 2 spots ahead of Jared Verse. That's on Kwesi. I'm not saying I would have made that decision, but it's also my job to call it out when we see now the results and it being one of the worst decisions that this GM has ever made. Like, Jared Verse is one of the best young defensive players in the NFL. The guy's going to be a premier edge rusher in the league, and I have concerns if Dallas Turner is even going to be a starter in the NFL after this season. Like, that draft looks terrible, but I want to ask you guys this, and I'll talk about the offseason a little more and just talk about the quarterback position, but is Kevin O'Connell on the hot seat? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no. All right, so the biggest gripe I've had, and I've had this take for the last 3 weeks if you guys have been watching the channel. I've honestly had this take dating back, to before the draft. Why did you not value the backup quarterback position? Like, and can you please give me a better answer than the comp pick? Because if that's the answer when you ask Kwesi or Kevin O'Connell, hey, why didn't you guys bring in Joe Flacco with Jacoby Brissett? And they say, oh, we wanted to get the comp pick right. That's a ludicrous answer. You had a 22-year-old J.J. McCarthy who just missed his entire rookie season with a torn meniscus, and you didn't value the backup quarterback spot. And also think about Carson Wentz. It's not like this guy was signed back before the draft. This guy was signed in late August. You brought in, take that back. You traded for Sam Howell, and then you ended up trading him again because you didn't have faith in him being your backup quarterback. But you had faith in Carson Wentz, who was on the street, who has been bouncing around team to team. Clearly nobody liked him, and you thought you could do the most with him. And listen, the whole Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones talk, I can understand letting Daniel Jones go. I don't think anybody has really seen, this career resurgence at this level. So I can understand that. I'm not saying, clearly they offered him a deal. He got more money elsewhere with the Colts and a better chance to start. Don't blame the Vikings front office for that. But the Sam Darnold one, yeah, 100%. If you could ask Kwesi right now, would you go back and redo it? He probably would have paid Sam Darnold more than what the Seattle Seahawks paid him. And I understand the thought process. You want to get J.J. McCarthy out there. You want him to be the franchise guy. But also, you could just go the Green Bay Packers route. The guy was 22 years old. You could have rode it back with Sam Darnold, see if he could, keep on getting better from those 2 bad playoff games. But at the end of the day, the guy, just keep it simple. How does it sound on paper? 35 touchdowns, won 14 games. You had a chance to get the number 1 seed and be a 15-2 season heading into Week 18. And you just let him walk out the door. And I think that all goes back to the ego of Kevin O'Connell. This guy's the smartest man in the room. And I'm not saying he's not. Like, he's clearly a very intelligent guy. He's still a good football coach. But I think he just thought, hey, I just won Coach of the Year. I made Sam Darnold who he is. Honestly, it's looking like Sam Darnold made Kevin O'Connell last year. And that's just the reality of the situation. Listen, I had the take 5 months ago that KOC made Sam Darnold. But now we have new information. We have played 7 games since then, and Sam Darnold looks like a legit MVP candidate, and the Vikings have some of the worst quarterback play in the NFL. And if you guys just think about, since Week 18, how quickly this has flipped on its head. I remember walking into the office that day for the watch party, and I was just grateful to be a Vikings fan. I'm like, man, we finally got this elite head coach. We got this elite roster. We're going to go on a run. And then since then, you've lost to the Lions, you lost to the Rams, and now you're 3-4. So you're 3-6 in your last 9 games. It's just bad. This season and this Vikings team is completely flipped on its head where there's also not a lot of ways to go. I could see the Vikings being sellers at the trade deadline. I could see a guy like Addison, maybe a guy like TJ Hawkinson getting dealt, but I just don't know if they're going to do it. But incredibly disappointed, but I will say the good news is J.J. McCarthy is going to be back, so we have something to look forward to for the rest of the season. We're going to get on out of here. See you guys next time. SKOL Vikes.